Hey guys, welcome back to the AWS Cloud Demos. My name is Murli, and in today's demo, we will talk about mounting EBS volumes onto our EC2 instances. So in the previous video, we have seen how we can create a VPC and how we can create a EC2 instance in a public subnet using Terraform. And if you haven't watched that video, please go and watch that video first before watching this if you want to have a refresher on the VPC side of things. All right, so I have a pretty basic template for this demo where I have created all the VPC subnet associations, and you have internet gateway, route table, and everything. Okay, so this is a template. I'm going to use this template as going forward, so which creates a VPC for me. Okay, so also I have created a variables, a bunch of variables where you will see how we can leverage or how we can take how we can make use of these variables. Okay, and then security groups, again, I've already discussed this in our previous video, so go through that. And in this demo we will only use SSH. We will only allow SSH on port 22. So as you can see, probably it will be useful for you. If you haven't watched that video, just this is the ingress rule where we are allowing inbound connections on port 22 and outbound connections from any to anything. Okay, so moving on to provider, we are using, as you know, we are using AWS, and also I've used my backend S3 bucket, which is RDS S3 bucket, which I've used in the previous demo. I'm using the same bucket to store my state file to make it a bit more secure. So instead of local, okay. And then going on to the key, so this is my key pair where I will be able to connect to my EC2 instance using that key pair. Okay, so we will now be generating the key, SSH key, all right, to connect to our EC2 instance. So how are we going to generate it? So it's simple utility that I have on Mac, or probably it is going to be the same utility in Linux as well, those you are using. And I'm not sure about Windows because I hardly use Windows. All right. And then moving on, SSH keygen -f. So I'm gonna create a key called my key. That's the default key name that I have used. So if you go to the public key in vars.public key, so you can see I'm referring to mykey.pub. So that's why I've named my SSH key as my key. Okay, so you can see our key has been created. All right. So now let's so before we begin with our actual demo, so I would like to talk about a couple of things. So first, EBS volumes are can be mountable from your Terraform. We will see how it works. Okay, and the second thing is, once you see the manual process of mounting EBS volumes, we will also see how we can automatically mount the EBS volumes on the EC2 instance startup, right? So you might ask me how we can do how we can attach EBS volumes onto our EC2 instances. So I've used the cloudinit config, something from our Terraform registry. This is our module we're going to be using it. So you can see, one second, yeah, there you go. So you can see there are two parts in it. One, we will be using some script in order to start up and as a user data script. Yeah, and the next one is we will be mounting our EC2 the EBS volumes to our EC2 instance. Okay, so we will see how this works, the cloudinit config and stuff. Okay, and then moving on, this is the cloudinit documentation. So if you want to understand what cloudinit does, so basically for any system that if you want to initialize, right, so your instances will be automatically provisioned during the first boot with networking, storage, SSH keys, packages, and various other system aspects, like discussed here. Okay, so read through this, and there are some tutorials available as well. This is pretty simple. Okay, and the other one is I'm going to use this user data section. I'm going to add this URL to our description box below, so make sure you read through these things. Okay, so if you can go, so this is the cloudinit directives, where on the initial startup we're going to say we will be updating our LVM, and then we're gonna upgrade, like if you remember this, the command that we run, like system apt-get update or upgrade. So you can run these using these configuration cloud config. Okay, so and also it installs any packages that if you want. We will see what we're gonna be using it in our demo. And finally, the code is in here, which is in AWS TF EC2 EBS user data in Terraform AWS snippets. I'm going to paste this link in the description box below. Okay, so let's head over to the demo. Okay, so before heading over to the demo, you know what to do. Just like the video, just subscribe to the channel, and make sure you add comments, and please don't forget to share the video. Okay, so let's head to the demo. In here, we have, as I've discussed, we have VPC already set up for us. Okay, so it's pretty straightforward, and in this video we will be only focusing on how we're going to be mounting our EBS volumes onto EC2 system. Okay, so all right, so I've created a Terraform file which is instance.tf. Okay, and so in here I'm going to create our resource like we have discussed, tf AWS resource instance. So I'm going to remove that. So you can see this is our EC2 instance example. Okay, and here we're going to be using an EMI, something that we have already declared in our vars. So you can see this is the EMI ID that I'm going to use. I'm going to simply replace that with my variables like so, and then I'm going to have my EC2 instance type, EC2 instance type, which is t2.micro. I'm going to use t2.micro, and then also make sure that you have your subnet ID. We're going to be using our subnet ID, which is, if you go to VPC, you can see our subnet here, AWS subnet dot main public one. So we're going to be creating our EC2 instance in this public subnet. If I go back, AWS subnet dot main public one dot ID, like so, and then you have VPC security groups, IDs, and I'm going to be using our security groups, which is AWS underscore security ssh.id. If you go to security group, and you can see lfssh.id, so we are using this resource in here in our instance. So I'm gonna do Terraform fmt, so in case if your system doesn't automatically format. Alright, so that formats my instance file, and then you have VPC security ID. And what else you need for your EC2 instance? Obviously we need our key name, which we have created. So if I go to key name, AWS key pair dot my key pair. So if you're wondering where you're getting this, so go to key, so you can see AWS key pair dot my key pair, like so, and dot key name is what we're going to be using for this demo. So you know we have created our EMI ID, we have created our instance type, subnet ID, and VPC security and key name, and we will be allowing our instance SSH inbound connections. All right, so now that we have created our EC2 instance, so what I'm going to be doing now is I will be creating a resource which is AWS EBS volume. Okay, AWS EBS volume. So you can see this is how we're going to be creating. So I'm going to create my EBS volume on US East, because that's my region, US East 1. And then what is the size that you want? You want a 20 gigs. That should be enough for this demo. And if I go to type, which is going to be general purpose GP2, and then I'm gonna add some tags over here to easily recognize my EBS volume, which is something like extra volume data. All right, so this is basic. This is not a root volume, this is an extra volume that we are trying to create for our EC2 instance. So there is a root volume attached to our EC2 instance, but this is something that we want an extra 20 gigs of space for my EC2 instance. So that's why I'm trying to attach that to my EC2 instance. All right, so now that we have created our EBS volume resource, so what we're going to be doing next is we should be attaching this EBS volume to our EC2 instance, right? So how are we going to do it? So we're going to be doing something like tf AWS resource volume attachment. Okay, so you can see, oops, yeah, you can see, where did I create that? Yeah, that's created here. All right, so that's my AWS volume attachment. Okay, and then you can name whatever you want, AWS volume 1 attachment. Okay, also if you remember, you have created a variable which is this one, instance device default name. So you can go ahead and remove that, var dot instance device name. All right, so you can see instance device name over here, and then the volume ID is that the volume ID is this one that we have created. So I'm gonna use EBS volume dot example dot ID, so which is already attached, so we should be fine. But for convenience sake, I'm gonna name volume 1, and then here I'm gonna do ABS volume 1 dot ID, and the instance is nothing but our web AWS instance dot ID. Okay, and then also I'm gonna skip destroy, which is true. All right, so if you want to if you want to learn more about this, you know what to do. Just go to your Terraform file and then type for AWS volume attachment. This is, I think you should go back to the HashiCorp and then AWS, and then you will find that resource there. Okay, all right, so now that we have created our volume attachment, EBS volume 1 attachment, so we have created our device name or the volume ID. This is our volume ID, and we are attaching that volume to our instance ID, and also we are trying to skip the destroy. So now that we have created this, all right, so this is now creating our EC2 instance. We are creating ABS volumes and all that stuff. We have created our keys, and now, all right, so now we'll see how we can manually check our EBS volume, whether it is attached to our EC2 instance. Okay, so for that, so let's go ahead and deploy our EC2 instance, and we will see in a moment. Okay, so for that, Terraform format again, just to make sure that formatting is proper. Something is wrong in tags on line number 21, already set for the instance. I don't think we need to have this because there is a duplicate one which is wrong. All right, so now let's do Terraform fmt. Looks like my console is a bit slower than before. Okay, let's try again. We'll see if there are any errors. Luckily there are no errors. Also, it's a good practice to validate your Terraform file to check the configuration is correct. But the provider is not available, you'll install it automatically by running Terraform init. Okay, so it's pretty self-explanatory. Terraform init. So let's initialize our Terraform configuration, and then we will be deploying our AWS resources. Okay, let's wait for a minute. So we have configured our backend S3, like I said, and then, all right, so now that we have successfully initialized, now what I'm gonna do is Terraform plan, which should automatically show me what are the resources that are going to be created and deployed to our AWS, right? Just give it a moment. There you go, and we are creating our VPC. Yeah, of course, we are creating our VPC, and if I scroll up, we are creating our EBS volume attachment, and then we are creating our subnets, as you can see. And then if I scroll up all the way, and you can see our security group, which allows us on port 22, and then you have our route tables and all that stuff. We have our public key, EC2 instance example. All right, so there you go, there is our EBS volume. Okay, we will see in a moment. So all right, so we're gonna be now Terraform apply auto approve, which will automatically deploy our EC2 instance, and we will see how our EBS volume will be attached. Okay, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Please don't forget to like this video if you like it, or if this video helps you, then please don't forget to like it. All right, let's wait for a couple of minutes and see how it deploys, and we will connect to our EC2 instance once that is deployed. All right. Okay, looks like our AMID doesn't exist. So US West 2A not found in zone US West 2A. So why is that coming? US West 2A, which I think I have changed it to US East 1A. Did I not save the file? I don't know. Let me figure out what's going on. The image ID does not exist. All right. I think what I can do is I'm gonna remove these things and reinitialize my Terraform just to make sure that just to make sure that everything is working properly, because I think it is not recognizing the all right, so that's the problem. And go ahead and do east one. All right, and then so you can see in my instance, so that's my EBS volume. Okay, so there are two volumes. I don't know why. I'm gonna remove that. Okay, something is messed up in my local. Cut. Also make sure you remove all this stuff. Okay, so we are creating our EBS volume on US East 1A, and I believe that is our region as well in here, which is US East 1, like you see. And as you know that EBS volume, now we are trying to attach to our EC2 instance. So probably because of the duplicates, that probably has messed up my instance.tf file. So I've cleared it. Make sure you have added the correct resources, and then try to do Terraform plan, or maybe we need to initialize again, as we have removed all our Terraform state files or log files. So let's give it a minute. Let's try and apply again. Okay, that's successfully initialized. Hope that's visible. And now I'm going to do Terraform apply auto approve. Alright, so there is another issue. Managed resource has not been found in the root module. Web.id is also not found for some reason. Okay, so that's an example. Okay, so if I come back here and that's my instance ID, you can see AWS instance example.id, and then you have ABS volume dot example. Oops. Or maybe you can simply do volume 1, or maybe you can simply ABS volume 1.id, and now it should be good, I think. And one more time, try one more time. This time it should be successful, I think, because the web is not found previously, and this is also not found. Hopefully this will create our infrastructure now, I think. Let's give it a minute. Just refreshing the state. There you go. All right, so now that we have successfully completed the Terraform apply, so now that we have created, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a output file, or maybe I think for this demo we will simply do state list. So we can see our EC2 instance, and if I go all the way up, grab the public IP that you have, just copy the public IP. All right, and then just clear this out. And how do you connect to your EC2 instance? So simply SSH -I, my key, user is Ubuntu @ IP address, and then that should automatically connect you to the, oops, something wrong, type yes. No. So there you go, you're now connected to your EC2 instance. So what are we going to do now? So we have successfully created our EBS volumes and all that stuff as Terraform suggested in its output. So for now, what I'm going to do is we will be checking if our our EBS volume has been mounted or not. Okay, so for that, first I'm going to do df-h, which shows me file system, where I should be able to see our EBS volume. So I don't think we have this is the root volume, I believe. Sorry, this one is our root volume, but we don't see our our EBS volume. Yeah, so for that reason, what you're gonna do, so before you mount your EBS volume, you got to create a file system. Okay, so how do you create a file system? It's simple, mkfs.ext4, and the name is dv-xvdh. If I go to my vars variables, so you can see, yeah, h, and so I'm trying to create a file system over there. Okay, and then so you just need to create a file system in order to mount your directory. Okay, so could not open, probably permission denied. Okay, so let me try sudo s. So I will try as a root user df-h. All right, and then mkfs.ext4, and then dev xvdh. So let's create our file system. Yeah, there you go. So we have now successfully created our file system on our this volume, and then I'm going to create a directory called /data. So we just created data, so ls, you don't see it right here because you're not in that. Now I'm going to mount our dev xvdh to our /data directory. Okay, so we are just mounting /data directory to /dev/xvdh. Okay, so now that we have mounted, I'm gonna do df-h again. So you should now see our EBS volume, which is this. We have now successfully mounted our 20 gigs of space. All right, now at this point, you will see that EBS volume is mounted, right? And now we're going to be going to /etc/fs tab, which will put this volume in the fs tab. So which means basically your EC2 instance will only come to know if there is an entry of xvdh on fs tab, that this EBS volume is being mounted to your EC2 instance. Okay, so how we're going to do it, it's pretty simple. We're going to go to our etc/fs tab. All right, and then here click type I, which will take you to the insert mode, and I'm gonna add an entry to xvdh /data ext4 file system type, and then defaults. So the subpermissions. And if you want to know more about this 00, then you can simply do man fs tab, which will give you the manual of fs tab, so which will tell you what exactly we are trying to do here. I'm just gonna hit escape and right quit. So I have successfully added that entry to my /etc/fs tab. So you can see that entry is now here in our fs tab. So now that EC2 instance will know that your system is being mounted. Okay, so now try to reboot your EC2 instance. Okay, the etc/fs tab /data, that will be gone because you will have to mount it again, right? So you can use EC2 instance user data to mount it. All right, so in theory you can take all your infrastructure down and reinitialize again. Okay, so I hope that makes you clear. So but as I said, you can see our EBS volume has been successfully mounted. All right, so if you want to verify that, probably if you go to EC2 and go to your instance, we'll see if there is any volume attached here. Storage and xvdh. So you can see our 20 gigs of extra ABS volume has been attached to our EC2 instance. All right, so this is a bit tedious process to manage it manually. Okay, so that is the reason why we are using cloudinit config, where you should be able to mount it on the on your EC2 startup. Okay, so how we're gonna do it? We're gonna, okay, so let me destroy this infrastructure. Let me exit from here first. Exit. The connection is now closed, and now Terraform destroy auto approve. So that should automatically destroy all your infrastructure, whatever you have created until now. So we're going to be using something called cloud init config right now in order to initialize your EC2 instance with these EBS volumes. Okay, so I'm going to create something called cloud init tf, so which should automatically create. One sec, let me just copy paste a few bits and pieces here and there. Also, you have something called scripts, so we're gonna execute some scripts when your EC2 instance starts, like the user data, as I said. I'm gonna copy paste that, so let it complete the destroy. Okay, let's go ahead and open up our scripts file. So you can see this is our init configuration, like I've discussed here. So if you go to this run commands on your EC2 insta at your launch, in this documentation, so you can see this is how you can use this file in order to run. This is the cloud config that you can use in order to initialize or anything. You can initialize or update, upgrade, or all that, pre startup activities. You can do all that stuff in this cloud config, and you can see the packages that you want to install in your EC2 instance, and you can run commands. As you can see, you can assign permissions and all that stuff. So we will be using this format, and I will drop this link in the description box below, and hope you will have a read through and understand what is going on in here. And also you can see all the user data regarding shell scripts, console, cloud init directives. As we are using cloud init directives, I'm going to use the cloud config. Okay, so I hope that is clear. And basically, as I've just told you, that repo update, repo upgrade will upgrade all the packages, will update package repositories. I've added all the comments, which makes it pretty easy for you to understand. So install the logical volume manager, which is LVM2. We are installing this in our case, and then yeah, that should do it. And you can also see the output log in here. All right, so going to volumes.sh. So basically we are creating our volume. So we are activating our volume groups. We are creating our file system type, and then we will be waiting for the device to be attached. And after that, you will see until you will verify whether the device has been attached. And then you can also, if you scroll down a bit, you just want to make sure that device the /dev exists within the time limit. And you can see the initialize. We can initialize the physical volume, create a volume group, logical volume, and all that stuff happening here. And then, like we have done manually, we have created our manual system. Yeah, so we have created our manual system. We're going to be creating our directory. We're going to be having we will add the entry to our fs tab, so you can see mounting at the boot time. And then moving down, scroll down, and then you can see we are mounting the /data directory, and then also installing the Docker. Yeah, so that's pretty much we are doing in the scripts. Okay, so we will see how we're going to be using that scripts in our cloud init config. All right, so I'm gonna simply copy paste a few bits and pieces, which in the interest of saving time, which makes it pretty easy. Also the length of the video, I want to keep it short. So you can see, so we are defining a cloud init configuration or data source num cloud init config example. All right, so we have two parts. First part is a cloud init configuration. The second part is a cloud init configuration, which will use the template to generate content. Okay, and also passing the instance device name as a variable. Okay, so here we are initializing the configuration, cloud init configuration. As we have discussed, we will update, upgrade, and install packages. And in the second part, we will be running the script, which is volumes.sh, which will create your volume and create your volume and attach and to your EC2 instance. So that's all it is doing, is just a simple cloudinit config. And if you want to see where exactly I've copied this from, you can see, you can copy this from here, like you see. Also, I will drop this link in the description box below. Just copy paste it. Yeah, and that's it. And I think that's pretty much what I want to explain. So if I go back and try to Terraform plan, and we'll see what we are going to create in this. Okay, Terraform init as it is suggesting. Just upgrade. All right, and now if you do Terraform plan, all right, so there are 17 to add. Okay, there are so many resources that we are trying to create over here, but you should be able to cut down some of these resources by, for example, you can see these VPC. I have created so many subnets and private subnets here. You don't probably, for this demo, you don't need all these subnets, private or public. You just need one public subnet. Okay, so I'm going to use this as a template for the Terraform videos going forward, which makes creating a VPC pretty easy for me. Okay, so it's up to you if you want to create all those resources, or if you want to create only just one public subnet. Is totally up to you, but make sure that EC2 instance is associated with that particular public subnet. Okay, all right, so now we're gonna apply, and I forgot to add auto approve. Okay, now let's do yes, and let's see how it's going to create. And we'll see now what we are expecting out of this is basically, as soon as your EC2 instance has been launched, then your EBS volume with a 20 gigs of space should also be attached to your EC2 instance by default, without you doing a manual process. Okay, so this should that script should automatically attach the EBS volume. So let's wait for some time, and let's see how it goes. All right, now that we have successfully applied our resources, and again, let me try and check our public IP address so that we will connect and see to our EC2 instance from CLI. Okay, so Terraform state show AWS instance dot example public IP. So we'll see what is the public IP here. Oops, state show instance. Maybe I'll simply remove that. We'll see what's wrong in there. Okay, so I have my EC2 config. So there you go. So this is my IP address for my EC2 instance, and scroll down a bit. And now do SSH minus I my key at Ubuntu at the rate 34 dot. So this is how we're going to be connecting to our EC2 instance right now. You can ignore that. Okay, all right. So we have successfully SSH into our EC2 instance. Now I have changed to our root, and now if I do df minus h, so you should be able to see XVDA 7 gigs, 25 size. I'm trying to find where exactly is our EBS volume. Let me exit from here. H XVDA1. This is our root volume. If I scroll down, I don't see my root volume for some reason. Okay. Alright, so if you haven't figured out what's going on in here and why we got that issue, so basically we have not created the user data in here, so AWS instance, so we should be adding that user data, which should be our cloudinit config. So for example, the data.cloudinit config, let me just put it, data.cloudinit config dot cloudinit example, copy that, and then you should be using something called rendered. All right, just save that. So this basically tells the EC2 instance that use this cloud init config in order to upgrade your packages, and then install the necessary packages and run the shell script in order to make sure that EC2 instance has the EBS volume mounted. Okay, so now that we have added this, yeah, now again we can try applying Terraform plan. This time again we'll see what's going on in here. All right, again it's the same resources, but this time you should be able to see something. User data, something you can quickly find it. User data, so there you go. So you have the user data also for your EC2 instance. Okay, so that's the instance. All right, so okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and apply. Yes, so let's wait for it to complete. Okay, there you go. We have successfully complete the apply again. So now we'll run the same command to see what's the IP address for my EC2 instance. So just give it a minute. You should be able to see the IP address, and then we will connect using SSH. There you go. Copy the IP address, and now SSH -I my key Ubuntu. So yes. Now clear sudo -s. Now if I do df -h, so there you go, you can see the dev mapper data volume 120 gigs. This is our extra volume that we have attached to the EC2 instance. So now that everything is attached automatically with your cloud init script, and also with some volumes, you can create your file system and attach to your EC2 instance. I hope this is clear. I hope this works for you, and also you can double check if it is attached correctly. So you just refresh this, you click on the running EC2 instance, and there you go. So that is now attached for this particular EC2 instance. All right, yeah, that's it. And I believe you like this video. I believe you subscribe to my channel, and please subscribe to watch more like this. And thank you. I will see you guys in the next video.